Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Music Den. I'm your host Armando Venditti. Hoping you guys are having a great day. Today, ladies and gentlemen, the gang are back. Before I get into the topic of what we hope to be another entertaining, insightful, and fun episode, I want to welcome back to the channel Mr. Ken Jishire. How's it going, Ken?
Going well, Armando. Thanks for having me back.
Thanks for coming back again and again. And the one and only Sagosh has returned. How you doing, Sagosh?
Doing good, Armando. Thank you.
That's good. Good that you're back. We've missed
Yeah,
having you
glad you're
on.
back.
We've missed having you on. All right, ladies and gentlemen, the reason for this meeting is we are here to discuss albums that are celebrating the 50th anniversary for the month of April 1976. We have three albums to talk about, and it's quite the list. And so I'm going to grab my notes here because I'm getting old, everybody. I need my notes. All right. The first album up, celebrating its 50th anniversary, we have Jethro Tull, Too Old to Rock and Roll, Too Young to Die. Released April 23rd, 1976 for Chrysalis Records, recorded the 19th of November 1975 to the 27th of January 1976. Again, as all albums were produced by Ian Anderson. The single that was released from the album was the title track, and he has a massive playing time, massive, of 42 minutes and 26 seconds, sorry. Too Old to Rock and Roll, Too Young to Die is listed as Jethro Tull's last concept album, and it's basically dealing with the story of Ray Lomas, can't read today, who is an aging rock star who is easily able to adapt to the changing times that, has happened over the years with regards to music. I will give my opinion of this classic release at the very end, as is customary with these episodes. Ken, what is your view?
Okay. Um, 1976, I remember hearing the single on the radio um, before I even knew the album was out. And it's been a long time since I've listened to this album. I never purchased it. I listened to a friend of mine's copy, and it just, it's like, okay, this is definitely Jethro Tull. It's got all of the the musical, the sonics, the vocals, the guitar, the flute, and everything. But it just, I don't know, it just didn't really strike me like the earlier albums did.
Hmm.
Um, it, I mean, it is what it is. It's not bad by any means, but it's just not one of the Tull albums I would go to. Um, I keep meaning to go online and seeing if Ian Anderson has any in this day has any reflection of this album as far as the songwriting and the concept and everything. Now that he is much farther along, in
Yeah,
age,
yeah.
but and he's getting a little bit of criticism with his live performances because he can't handle the songs in the original keys anymore, and his voice isn't what it used to be. But guess what? That happens. Um, he's still trying. He's still plugging. He's still making albums. Good for him. The nice thing about it is the albums, the new music he's making, um, plays to his strengths. In other words, he's writing music that he can handle well vocally. That's not as demanding, range wise and the high notes and stuff like that. But it's a good album. It's just not my favorite Tull album. So
Hmm.
and that's okay. That's okay.
Yep, yep. I get that. I get that. Okay, so Gosh, what did you think of the album?
I have a bit of a history with this album because Tal, as I've mentioned before, were not commonly available in India for the longest of time. And it was only like in the early 90s when some tapes started coming out. But again, those were randomly chosen, like some from the 80s, some from the 90s, some from the early years, some from the mid years. It was all a bit hodgepodge. They were random holes in the discography which never really got filled. And, we had to depend on import CDs for the rest of them. And me being a student at the time, CDs were absolutely not happening. I remember seeing this one in the store and deciding to convince my then working sister to purchase it for me. So it's like a valuable thing because it's the first CD I properly bought, not with my
Yeah.
own money, but
Okay.
It's all
yeah.
right.
So given that, I played it to death because there was literally nothing else to do with my CD player. Yeah, so I
Okay.
know this
Okay.
in and out. And if you look at it, as you mentioned, it's the last proper concept album that Tal did. They did albums with a few, basic overarching themes. Like, the next three albums were sort of a seasonal suite. A
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
more of a response to the nuclear meltdown threat and all that kind of stuff. But nothing really hung together as a proper concept album after this one. And I think as a concept, it works rather well. It's pretty unique in the sense that this is perhaps the only time when Ian has gone deep down into contemporary culture. Like if you mention Jethro Tull, the the odds are 95% or maybe more that people will mention things like medieval themes and
Of course.
monsters, things like that, or whatever. They've got associated with that general idea, like Jethro Tull is all about knights and maidens and what have you, but
Yeah.
which
I
is
get that.
also a little because I think their music has covered the gamut, even lyrically. I don't think he's really been stuck in one place at all. So I think that's very unfair criticism. But that said, this album is the one time where he's looked seriously into culture and music culture at that, which makes it
Hmm.
very, very unique, the Tull discography. And I think it does rather well to examine. I think probably this was the first time that society was experiencing that kind of 20-year cultural revival in the 70s, where all the rock and roll and doo-wop and stuff was coming back in the mid 70s to late 70s with Grease and everything.
Yeah.
So, in some senses, Ian sort of predated it. I mean, he got on to the vibe before it was actually a very major thing,
Hmm.
and managed to put out an entire concept album based on it. So I give him credit for that.
Yeah.
I think it's pretty stellar writing to grab onto this idea and execute it as a concept. Whether or not the story flows perfectly is immaterial. The point is he's got some good points to make about this whole cultural revival and how aging rockers navigate it. He probably at that time. I mean, he wasn't very old. He must have been just about to hit 30, I guess. But
Yeah. Yeah.
uh, we know about 60s musicians. That's about the time they all start wondering what's happening. 30 is the big number, right?
Yeah.
Don't trust anyone 30.
Yeah.
You proceed,
Exactly.
you start life and everything. So yeah, it's probably fair that at that time he started getting a little introspective about his own life as an aging rocker. And see paints of particularly in the title track of what it's like for a one-time rebel, aggressive, macho rock star who's now married with three kids up by the ring road, meeting at the tennis club blues. It's a nice expression of what eventually happens. Life gets to you. You can't keep up that rebel thing forever, and he's captured that very nicely.
Yeah.
Uh, Overall, the music I think is excellent. There's only one track maybe that doesn't resonate with me, and that's "Bad Eyed and Loveless." For whatever reason, it's just this, boring acoustic semi-blues kind of tune, which with an atrocious lyric about comparing a woman to a warm fart. So, go figure.
A warm fur.
Yeah.
All right. I'm
So
not
that
touching
that's
that one. I'm not saying a word.
does
Okay.
I'm going to
do
remember
it for me.
that phrase.
The rest of it is really, really good. The the music and musicianship is, top form Tal. This is,
Oh yeah.
to me, the
Yeah.
lineup, the mid 70s lineup was absolutely their best with
Yeah,
John Glasscock and
yeah,
Barham Barlow. They were hitting all the right spots.
yeah,
So, musically, it's an absolute pleasure to listen to. Lyrically, there are some really good themes, really good, sort of classic lines tossed out. Like I like Quiz Kid, the way he expresses, the kind of public pressure, like millions of people watching on television while you're trying to get that one answer right. So I mean, the way he captures that in a line is beautiful. It's like a
Yeah.
million cathode ray tubes at your tiny skull. May you find sweet inspiration. May your memory not be dull. It's
yeah,
it's it's poetic. It's witty. It's everything we expect from Ian Anderson. That's a
Yeah.
wonderful song. Uh,
True enough.
the
True
crazed
enough.
institution again, which takes pot shots at the whole entertainment industry, and you can't ask for a better term than that to describe it. Crazed institution. I mean,
That's true.
it's well articulated. Salamander borrows, an acoustic guitar theme that was used in the previous year on Minstrel in the Gallery's Cold Winter Valhalla, but then goes off on a different tangent once that intro is through. And it's a short song with barely like five or six lines, but it's beautifully executed. And it's one of Anderson's most tender songs, I would say.
yeah.
Then you have like a couple of fairly standard blues rock tracks like Taxi Grab and Big Dipper, which are all right for the purpose. They're as close as Tal ever came to mainstream, uh, macho rock, as it were, both musically and lyrically. Uh, wasn't really their style. But the real gem here is From a Deadbeat to an Old Greaser because it captures that feeling so well of this rose-tinted nostalgia that we all go through, where he's sitting in a bar and there's this other guy who's probably his own age and he's reminiscing about all these things about the 50s or 60s or whatever it is,
Hmm.
uh, you know, a million cultural references, and he goes on and on and on, and at the end of it, the main character just goes, "I didn't care. I wasn't there. You want a pint? Ask me again." I mean, it tells you that a lot of nostalgia is really what we make of it.
Yeah,
It
Yeah.
may not have
True
been that
enough.
great, and everybody who was there may not even consider it, something worth remembering or reliving. So and fits very well with the theme because the whole idea of the album is culture making a 20-year comeback and
hmm,
nostalgia is cool and all that. And
Mhm.
obviously first guy is sort of trying to get on the bandwagon of that, trying to be the spokesperson for his era, saying, "Oh, I remember how it was. Come and talk to me." But Ray isn't interested. He's like, "Yeah, big deal. We lived it. It's over." So I thought that was a very interesting juxtaposition of how two different characters react to the same period of time. Uh, and very insightful track.
yeah,
Not to mention beautiful melody and great sax solo, an unusual sax solo in the middle of a dull song. Uh, and there's like a lot of little cultural snippets. Like there's this moment where he says the shadows did FBI, and in the background you can hear the guitar just playing the first three notes of FBI. So that's like a cool little Easter egg, if you will.
Mhm. Mhm.
The title track, of course, like I've said, it perfectly captures the sentiment of the aging rocker. Like, where do I go now? Am I relevant? What's happened to my friends? I used to be cool. What happened to that coolness? What happened to the fans? Is anybody really going to be following me around anymore?
Yeah.
Who am I in this crazy entertainment world
yeah,
after I've crossed this age? And that phrase, we maybe underestimate that phrase because it sounds very cliche, but as a phrase, it is so good at capturing exactly the position that a lot of rockers were in at this time, too old to rock and roll, too young to live.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
yeah,
superbly put. You couldn't ask for a better,
Yeah, because you got to think about too, artists or bands that were releasing albums at this point, maybe like two or three or four, like five albums into their career. in the mid 70s, they're probably thinking like, what more can I do? Like I got to keep going.
Mhm.
You got to keep churning out the music, but what more can I give? Like in terms of like how far can I go with this? I'm five
And
albums in.
especially, bands like Tal and the rest of the progressive rock bunch basically probably under more pressure than ever because they were the ones who were supposed to have brought this whole new world into music, and they
Revolution
have
type of, yeah, a type of music in, and yeah, I get it. I get it. Yeah.
then the pressure must have been crazy, especially since most of them were also probably tied into contracts that were that needed one album a year, which Tal
Yeah.
dutifully put out till 1980.
Yeah.
So
That's exactly it,
it,
right? So,
it's a
Well,
testament to their talent as musicians, as writers, the
yeah,
ability to go out there and you know do the whole tour, the whole rockstar shenanigan, and then come back and write these pretty insightful songs about where you find yourself in the
yeah.
rock industry. So I think that's really good.
and
And
then
with the
right
closing,
about this time comes in dance music, disco. Punk's headed this way, and
Yeah.
yeah, there new genres of music and popularity, and yeah, I
Yeah.
could easily see that. I mean, because Pete
yeah,
Townsend, even before this, was saying, "I hope I die before I get old."
Yeah. Yeah.
So, so yeah, I think most artists they weren't expecting to last for probably more than 5 or 6 years.
Exactly. Exactly. Because I mean, and not to belabor the point, at this point, yes, in terms of progressive rock, yes, we're on a break. They were all doing solo projects,
Yeah,
solo albums. King Crimson were done, effectively finished. Who else was there? Emerson, Lake and Palmer, again with Works. That was
yeah,
just about to come out.
yeah.
So
yeah,
it was a
Genesis
weird
was doing
time. Genesis,
yeah,
yeah. It was a weird time.
it was.
Yeah, so I get that one. After listening to your description, I'm gonna have to go back and listen to this album again
Me too. Yeah,
and give it like another sort of,
in that perspective, yeah,
yeah, and listen like, okay, all right, I understand. Okay, like you
it's a
gave
I
great
us,
think the
song.
Tal's music, that's what attracts me to Jethro Tull because if you listen to them on the surface, it's very easy to sort of take some cliched idea that's beaten to death about how they are essentially this comic band. And I've seen of late I've seen a lot of Jethro Tull hate on social media, and a lot of it seems to center around his wild-eyed appearance and his costume and things like that. I'm like, what about the music?
yeah,
Listen to the music and talk about
yeah,
that. I mean,
I get it.
most of course comes from childish debates about how progressive rock is better than the Beatles or something like that, and then everybody starts pouncing.
Yeah,
But I mean, to me, there's two separate worlds, and one definitely led to the other. And I think we are all old enough and mature enough to accept that both worlds are legitimate.
Yeah,
I never saw the reason
yeah,
for this
yeah,
ridiculous, divide between, say blues or, R&B influenced riff rock and hard rock, and then you have progressive, which is, folk and
yeah.
classical and all kinds of other elements. And somehow, one is given more legitimacy than the other, and I've never understood that.
Yeah, no,
So
I get
yeah,
what you're saying. I get what you're saying. There's room for all genres. This argument
right.
about, this is the argument that prog is better than classic rock or the Beatles era and stuff. It's like it's a wasted argument because there's no need for it. There's no need for it. There's room for every type of genre.
Some excellent music. I
Yeah.
mean, you're just missing out on the music, man. You just need to sit down and listen to it.
Yeah. No, I
yeah,
get it.
Because I put this album out because it was my only CD, so I would like constantly play it and open up, read the comic book, read the lyrics. I was so into it,
Yeah.
and that's
I
the
get
reason why I
that.
appreciate this album a bit more than most even Tal fans. I think by and large, it's not regarded as one of their better albums. In fact, most people would put it at probably at the bottom of their 70s output, along with War Child and to some people a passion play. But I mean, to me, the entire 70s style was just like them moving from one thing to another. Each album was interesting in its own way. Each album had its own ideas, its own sort of universe, so to
Yeah,
speak. I don't find anything like really common between, I mean, yes, on the surface level, basic commonalities are, the kind of vocal, style that he has and his flute. And yeah,
yeah,
broadly the music remains the same. But to me, each album has its own sort of reason to exist. And
yeah.
I
I get
think
that.
Talib terribly changed as far as their 70s output especially is concerned. And I have to mention here about the last track, which is a gorgeous, gorgeous
The checkered
string
flag.
arrangement
Yeah,
by David Palmer, now D. Palmer, of course. And he did such a fantastic job with Tal. I mean, Ian is, he may have been a big rocker and, the whole progressive rock thing and Aqualung and all that kind of stuff, but he was supremely capable of writing tender, sweet melodies. And when he did that, uh, Palmer just brought so much more out of it with his her uh, orchestral arrangements. And this one is absolutely it brings it to a beautiful soaring finale, and nothing better to close the album. I think this is a very good album. I think most people have probably gone in with a very mixed view about it, especially people who were there at the time, because it was a very transitional period for classic rock in general. I think you'll find a lot of people saying 1976 was where everything got a little crazy because, like Ken pointed out, there was disco and punk coming in, and there were
yeah.
whole genres and multitudes of bands just summarily being jettisoned as not culturally relevant anymore and all that kind of stuff. So I mean, it really helps to give it another pair of years, many years down the line, and I think many people will be surprised at the quality of this album.
Okay. All right. Like I said, I got to go back and listen to this son of a bitch again, and just give it another listen with a fresh pair of ears. It's interesting. I mean, again, listening to this album for me, initially there was nothing that really jumped out at me musically, but obviously, the talent track is a single, you know, um, and there is the box set that you can get for like $300 now if you're not careful, depending where you go. Um, Interestingly enough, this is the one Jethro Tull album that failed to certify as gold on the initial release. It didn't sell as well as they were hoping, or as people thought it would. Um, mm, Listening to Sagosha's raving recommendation or opinion of the album, I'm kind of flabbergasted here. I don't know what else to say. It musically, it's good. The musicianship is, Martin Barr, on guitar is just flawless. And, David Palmer's contribution at this point, he was an unofficial member, or D. Palmer, sorry. His contribution is also invaluable. But yeah, I got to go back and listen to this album again after your glowing review of it, Sagosh. Really, um,
Hey, well,
initially,
mileage.
initially, it didn't
I,
stand out to me.
Tull really aren't everybody's band. There are a lot of people who just do
Yeah,
not get it, and that's okay. I mean,
yeah,
what
that's fine.
I'm generally against is people who dismiss them just because they think Ian looks ridiculous on stage or some nonsense like that. I mean, that's not legitimate criticism. Yeah, sure. Listen to the music, say it doesn't work for you. That's fine.
Yeah, no, I get that. I get that. Ladies and gentlemen, our next album that we're going to talk about is from the band Camel with the release of Moon Madness, released in April of 76, recorded from January to February of 76. Sorry, I was going to say 75. Produced by Rhett Davies and Camel. Rhett Davies also worked with Roxy Music and Brian Ferry on his solo uh, material. The album is released to Decca, Gamma, and Janus Music in North America with a total playing time of 39 minutes and 12 seconds. The one single release from Moon Madness is the track Another Night. Before I give my opinion, Ken, your view of this album?
Okay. Um, I have stated several times here on the channel that my preferred prog or favorite prog is early prog. And Camo is a good example. This album is a very good example. It's very melody driven as far as the songs. The songs are
Yeah.
very melody driven as opposed to um, just instrumental bombast. You know,
Hmm.
uh, that's not to say that the musicianship isn't excellent. It is excellent. It's just the songs and everything. It is more melody driven. It's also more very instrumentally driven. Um,
Hmm.
Several instrumentals on the album with no vocals. Um, a couple of the songs that do have vocals, the vocals aren't in your face in the mix.
Yeah.
Vocals are treated as equal as another instrument. I really do like that.
Yeah.
Um, Lots of wonderful synths and flute, um, which is what I expect in early melodic prog. Um, Three songs stand out to me: "Song Within a Song," "Chord Change," and "Lunar Sea," the
Yeah.
closing track, "Lunar Sea," which is especially very large and epic in scope. It's got a wonderful interplay between the guitar and the keyboards that I thoroughly enjoy. Um, uh, for "Song Within a Song," the second track, a very dreamy mood to this song. A wonderful flute, um, and chord change is just a wonderful instrumental. You see the title of it, chord change. Okay, it's just going to be a little interlude thing. Oh no,
No, no, no.
it's just a wonderful track.
6 minutes
Um,
and 45 seconds worth. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah. Um, the opening track, which is another instrumental, is very playful, lovely synthesizers. Spirit of the Water. It's a short song, a very gentle acoustic ballad. Um, and they're doing here what they several other bands did at the time, would be running the vocals through a Leslie speaker. For those that don't know what a Leslie speaker is, it's a large speaker cabinet that was that went with a Hammond B3 organ. In the top of the speaker cabinet were two horns facing away, and those horns would spin, and that's what gives that B3 that vibrato kind of feel,
Hmm.
um, because it's analog, it's not digital, and so those horns spinning real fast, it just gives that wave vibrato sound, and
So they
that's
would
what
do
you're
that with the
doing
vocals
here.
too, then.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're running the vocal feed through those spinning horns, and
That
it's just
was
wonderful.
I was just wondering what how like because I would say just to not to cut you off,
Yeah,
but I would like the vocals to me had like I don't know I kept thinking what kind of filter are they using in order to get
yeah,
that feel that sound,
yeah.
but you're saying it's the Leslie speaker, so
They're
yeah.
running it through that speaker, and I know this because my father owned a Hammond organ with that big Leslie speaker, cabinet. So it's like I've seen it done literally. Um, and this is what they were doing in the studios in the 70s.
Yeah.
They didn't have Pro Tools and all that stuff, and the Beatles were a perfect example. They were always experimenting with what they could do in the studio. Um, so yeah, in the Spirit of Water, doing that, it just really gives it part of that gentle, ethereal sound.
Hmm.
You mentioned the single "Another Night" is a logical single because it is more rock oriented. I think it probably would fit within a
The
uh,
FM
within
station. Yeah.
radio
Yeah.
programming. Yeah, but I love that organ passage in it. It's short, but oh man, it's very powerful. It's very melodic. Um, the other track, "Airborne," beautiful flute in it. It's another one of those, ethereal songs. It just has this soaring element to it. So yeah, I've always liked Camel. Um, I've only bought a couple of their albums, I believe, over the years. But because I can't afford to buy everything I like, but I've always been very fond of Camel. I think this is the first time I've listened to this album all the way through for a long time.
Hmm.
And I had my expectations and I wasn't disappointed. I recommend Camel for people
Okay. Okay.
and animals or whoever.
There you go. There you go. Okay. Sagosh, your view on this album?
Oh, I agree totally. Camel, to me, Camel are, technically they are probably the one prog rock group who could potentially, appeal to a lot of people who don't fundamentally listen to prog rock.
Yes.
Because
Yeah.
there is very little of that, prog rock edginess. Some people would criticize that and say, it's prog rock light or something like that. But, I think that, there is a space for that kind of thing also, where, you're, uh, expanding on themes, your music is fundamentally exploratory. It's instrumental. It's got its own soundscape and its own musical pathway and journey.
Yeah.
It's just that it's not in any way abrasive or challenging, or it's all very very musical, very much in the strict melodic framework, and I think that
Yeah.
works very well for Camel. And honestly, I'm surprised that they were not more famous or popular, because in the heyday of prog, I think this kind of stuff ideally should have sold very well, because it's very, very accessible. I think maybe the one downside, if you could say it, is that there's very little vocal, as tends to be on a lot of early Camel work. This and the other album I like the most, the Snow Goose. Snow Goose, of course, being completely instrumental, and this
Yes.
one has
Yeah. Yeah. And
very, very.
there's a reason for that. Yeah. Yeah.
But both of them, I think, represent the best of Camel's early work. Towards the late 70s, they became more, standard AOR, pop rock, a bit like, I would compare them to maybe what the Moody Blues were doing at that time,
Hmm.
uh, in a similar vein. Uh, but this period is where they have their own sound. Like there is this dreaminess, this particular soundscape that only they have from this period. I don't really, like, off the top of my head, I can't think of anybody else who has this particular sound, because everybody else has some element of either edginess or quirkiness. Like if you got Caravan, they're very quirky, they're very British, they
Yeah.
have this
Canterbury sound.
comic,
Yeah. Yeah.
in them. Jethro Tull, of course, have their own sphere completely. King Crimson are all about edginess. Genesis are grandiose. They're all about lyrical statements and big vocals and things like that. I think in that sense, Camel has a very unique space in the prog rock world of the 70s, and I think it's very surprising and rather a shame that they didn't catch on more. Personally, I love this album. Like I said, this and Snow Goose are probably my favorite early Camel albums.
Same
And
here.
there's such
Yeah.
good playing, such good tunes. As Ken mentioned, Airborne has this absolutely gorgeous flute intro. I mean, that's the one thing that sticks in your head. Like I think I remember when I was first listening to this album, it was on a playlist, and it was organized by uh, alphabetical order of tracks. So the first song I heard was Airborne, and as soon as I heard that little flute intro, I was absolutely floored, and that really drove me to listen to more of this album, more of Camel, and I think Andy Latimer has a wonderful melodic sense. As a guitar player, he's very fluid, very melodic. Uh, he gets into improvisations, but there are always this little phrases or motifs that you can pick off his music and remember them. Like he plays solos that you can actually remember. It's not
Yeah.
just fiddling around.
Yeah,
Right.
it's not
So
flash and
yeah,
dash. Yeah.
Yeah.
there's a lot of feel in his playing, a lot of melody, a lot of bending. Uh, it just provides a perfect match to that dreamy synth soundscape that Camel have, and I think if you're looking to get into the band, this is probably your best entry point.
Yeah.
I would agree, actually. Um, Thank you for that, Sigosh. My view on this album, ladies and gentlemen, I did an episode of Is This a Masterpiece? Talking about this album. Check it out. You need to. It's a great episode. Um, I love this album. I think it's great. With regards to progressive rock, there are the staple bands that you listen to, like the common ones, the ones I call the old reliable bands.
Mhm.
Genesis, yes, King Crimson, Rush, bands like that. But there are other bands in the progressive rock field that do not get mentioned. Camel is one of them,
Yep.
you know, and they should be mentioned. They are a fantastic band. This is the follow-up to the 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 instrumental album, The Snow Goose. And the reason why The Snow Goose is an instrumental album is because The Snow Goose is based on a book, and the name of the author escapes me right now. But the band wanted to use the text from the novel as lyrics for the music, and the author said no. You're not allowed. So they had to go to plan B and have Snow Goose be an instrumental album, which I think works wonderfully. But Moon Madness, an amazing album from track one to track seven, just beautifully done. I mean, I didn't know that the vocals were done through a Leslie Speaker. Thank you for that. It gives the vocals an ethereal quality to me, right? My only slight critique would be the vocals needed to be just slightly above, just slightly more prominent in the mix, very
Makes sense.
slightly. And that's just, it's not a negative critique, it's an observation.
Mhm.
Okay. To me, this album, when you put, I'm a big proponent for people for albums that are musical journeys. This is a musical journey. You put the album on, you go for a ride, you go on a trip, and from track one to track seven, it's an amazing trip to go on. You basically lose yourself in the music on this album, and in terms of standouts, I mean, Lunar Sea is one. I mean, you've got these wash of synths that come in from the beginning, and they just, again, it just envelops you, right? And you do feel like you're going in, you're being submerged into the sea, like in this sort of I use the term, the example of the cartoon Johnny Quest. When you go underwater in
Mhm.
the little
Mhm.
capsule thing.
Yeah.
That's what I was feeling when I was listening to this track. And it's funny because when I use that description, somebody commented on the other episode saying, "Yeah, I kind of get that. I kind of get where you're coming from with that. That's the kind of feeling I get with that." But I think it's just a wonderful album. You really do need to check it out. This album for me does need to be listened to as a whole
Mhm.
instead of just, you've got the single Another Night, and I do agree with Ken. It is one of the more rock-oriented tracks on the album, perfect for a single release. But in terms of the album overall, I think you really do need to listen to it as a whole, instead of individual tracks and making your judgment from that. I think you really do need to listen to it as a whole. And in terms of getting the other albums, Ken, I have the massive 32 disc Airborne box set
Mm,
that came out a few years ago. And ladies and gentlemen, $300. It was worth it. It is a massive set, and
amazing.
it is wonderful. You'll probably pay for it more now, but
Sure.
aside from the initial release, but this album is platinum from start to finish for me. So yeah, track one to track seven, it is a journey. Go on it. You won't be disappointed. Just give it a chance. Give
Yeah.
it a chance. And I agree with Sagosh. This band should have been more popular. They should have been right up there with Genesis and with King Crimson. But unfortunately, that was not meant to be. It was not meant to be. Ladies and gentlemen, we must carry on. Our next album, and the final one in our episode, let's talk about Todd Rundgren, shall we, with the release of Faithful. Again, released April of 76, produced by Todd Rundgren for Bearsville and Rhino Music. Total playing time of 50 minutes and 4 seconds. Ken?
Thank you, Armando. I love Todd Rundgren. I think he is an incredible songwriter. Um, he is one of these multi instrumentalists in rock that has very few peers. Um, and however, um, there's so many of his songs that I absolutely adore, and I never get tired of. Yet his musical palette is so vast and wide. The styles of songs that he writes and performs, all the genres. Um, each album, for the most part, there's a few couple of exceptions, but the albums are, as a whole, are a very mixed bag for me. Um,
Yeah, I get that.
but however, this one is a very interesting album, Faithful. Um, side one is covers. Side two is original music. Um, I think his selection of songs to cover on side one, I think is very good. They're all um, at least reasonably known to very well known. You've got a
Yeah,
couple of Beatles songs, you've got Yardbirds, you got a Bob Dylan, Jimi Hendrix, um, and um, and he, for the most part, is carbon copying them from the originals. Um, but there again, it shows what a no pun intended. Oh yeah, it is intended. A wizard in the studio that he can do this. He knows how to do this technically and musically. Um, some he does very away from the originals a little bit, but as far as he sometimes he does, he's not trying to carbon copy the vocals. Um, Strawberry Fields in particular, he's doing his own vocals kind of on that, along with the Bob Dylan song, most likely you go your way. Um,
yeah,
so I enjoy the first half of this album, but it's almost kind of a novelty for me.
yeah. I get
Um,
that. I get that.
I won't skip it. I enjoy it when I listen to it. But for me, the strength is really in side B, the second side, which has three of my absolutely all-time favorite Todd Rundgren songs. Um, Love of the Common Man, super catchy. A mid-tempo. It's power pop at its best. The guitar work on this is just so iconic and wonderful. And this is the kind of guitar work that, I'll hear maybe a second of it, and I'll say, "Oh, that's Todd Rundgren. That
You know who it is. Yeah, yeah.
he's got his style, and this it's just such a wonderful, song. Um, the Another track is Cliche, which is a very tender and somewhat fragile ballad. It does have a mystical vibe to it, um, but it shows off what Todd can do vocally, both in the lead vocals, but what he does with his layering of the background vocals. And I can listen to this song just on repeat over and over again. It's just amazing. My third favorite song on this album is The Verb to Love. This song demonstrates what Daryl Hall wishes he could do vocally. Todd Rundgren, I mean, this is Blue Eyed Soul, and Todd Rundgren just cuts loose on these lead vocals. He doesn't hold back. Pedal to the metal, dialing it up to 11, whatever, phrase you want to use. This is one of, maybe even my absolute favorite vocal performance of his, because he just lets it go. The song builds emotionally with a beautiful lush arrangement of everything in the song. Incredible piano passage in here with what he's doing, and I'd be hard pressed to find a more emotional um, and soul wrenching song in his catalog than this. Because a lot of his stuff is um, um, very structured,
Yeah.
And technical. Not to say that it's cold, it's not at all. But this one is just, he just pours his soul into this song, and I think it's beautiful. I just think it's absolutely beautiful. The the opening track is side two, Black and White. It's a very riff driven, guitar rocker. Okay. Uh, when I Pray, to me, this is the weakest song. Um, I'm not sure what it is. It's just, this is one of those songs, it's just of his that doesn't resonate with me. Um, the closing track, Boogie's Hamburger Hell, it's just a playful, frat party, album ender. Mm, you know,
Okay.
it's like, okay, there it is. Yeah, but I gotta say the novelty of side one, and then these three songs that I mentioned specifically on side two, make this Rundgren album a winner for me.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. No, thank you for that. Sagosh, your view of Faithful?
So this was a new Todd Rundgren album for me. I'd heard a fair bit of his 70s work, some of the recognized stuff. It was a Two Star and Todd, Hermit of Mink Hollow, and Something Anything, of course. This one I was not aware of, and it seems to me there's a reason for that because I find it hard to credit it as a sort of legitimate entry in Todd's discography because it seems to be far less of a creative statement and much more of a marketing ploy. Because I mean, no disrespect. The man is supremely talented, and
Yeah.
Side A is absolutely demonstrative of that. I think the whole purpose of Side A is to show what he can do as a musician and as a producer, because he is, and I think the title "Faithful" also probably refers to the way he's done those covers, because they are by and large faithful and very very faithful in the sense that they're more faithful than anybody could have imagined. Particularly Good Vibrations. I think for the first few seconds, I was almost like, am I listening to the original version? Is this actually Todd? But
Yeah, yeah,
he
yeah,
gets
I
Good
get that.
Vibrations absolutely spot on, and he comes very, very close on the others as well, which is a good thing. But as a listener, I don't know what I'm supposed to take out of it. To me, that is a showcase of that's like Todd selling his stuff. It's like Todd, telling a record company guy, "Look, I'm a producer. I can do this shit. Hire me."
He said shit. I like that. Go on. Please continue.
Sorry.
No, don't
So
apologize. Not on this channel. Go ahead. Go ahead.
purpose because musically these are recognized classics. He's not doing anything particularly unconventional with them.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like if you want to see how somebody can, dissect these classic tunes from a production perspective and get every little element absolutely spot on while working on his own. It's a tremendous achievement. Like, if you look at it, from purely the work perspective, it's a phenomenal work. But I don't know. I mean, I can just go back and listen to the originals, really. I can take or leave this
Yeah,
bunch
I
of
get
covers.
that. Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, it's good, but I don't know what purpose it serves the listener per se. And side B is more like, oh, hey, I'm a producer, but I can write songs too. So it's more like, okay, if you don't want to hire me as a producer, get me a contract, man.
Yeah. Okay.
This whole
Okay.
album seems like a sort of hedging your bets thing. Okay, I can do this, I can do that. Which one you want, boss? you
Yeah.
know,
Take your choice. Take
but
your pick. Yeah.
tragedy for me on side B is that apart from the three songs that Ken already mentioned, the others are like really not interesting at all. Those three are fantastic, but when you consider that one side is covers that are technically perfect but don't really add anything, to the legend per se, and side B has got like three great tracks and three very indifferent tracks. It's hard for me to really give this a thumbs up. I will say those three original songs are fantastic. He's done tremendous work on the production, but you know, I'll just listen to the originals.
Okay. Okay. My view of this album is pretty much in line with what Sagosh is saying. In that the album is 50 minutes and change. 50. 50. Now, ladies and gentlemen, maximum playing time per side of vinyl runs between 19 to 22 minutes maximum. Tal Rundgren, wonderful musician, wonderful arranger, producer, can do it all, has a habit of pushing the limits of vinyl capability beyond its limits to the point where if you go beyond a certain amount of playing time, and I'm going on a mini tangent, strap yourselves in. When you go beyond that playing time of 22 minutes, you compromise the integrity and the sound of the music that you're doing. And he does it on this album. I like, and let's break this down quickly. With regards to the individual sides, I understand that he wanted to keep the covers faithful as possible to the originals, hence the title, Faithful. I get that. But there is, I mean, and he does that, especially with Good Vibrations and Rain and, Strawberry Fields. You do feel like, okay, am I listening to the original track and he just sort of added his vocals in, just punched
Mhm.
his vocals in kind of thing over the originals? Okay, I get that. You love the Beatles, you love Jimi Hendrix, you love the Yardbirds, you love these bands. I get that. There is nothing that stands out to me here. If anything, I was listening to on YouTube the 2015 remastered edition of this album. The sound was muddy. The drums were cluttered. There was nothing that was pristine about it or cleaned up. And to me, that's a result of him kind of like compressing everything together and trying to make everything fit on one side of an album. And he is guilty of doing that. Listen to Utopia, the icon, 30 minutes plus on one side. It suffers from it. It really does. I'm sorry. This album to me, I don't know what he was doing. I honestly don't know what he was doing with this release. Yes, I get it. The first side, the first six songs, I want to be faithful to the originals. I understand that. But what else is there? What are you doing to bring these songs into 1976 at the time? There's nothing to it. And the side of originals, it's the sound that gets me. It's the sound that prevents me from enjoying this album more than I should because it sounds so muddy and so cluttered. Because again, he's pushing the limits of what you hear on vinyl. Um, I think this album, in terms of a remaster, I think it should, like Queen just did a Queen 2 rebuild, quote unquote. They should rebuild this album, for
Yeah,
2026. Do a
yeah, not
rebuild,
not a remaster, but a remix
a
from the bottom
remix.
up. Yeah,
Stephen Wilson, are you watching?
yeah.
Grab this, do
Hey,
a
Steve.
remix of it, just build it from the ground, rebuild it from the ground up, make it sound pristine, make the drums come through proper, the bass frequency, make it come through proper. Do you know what I mean? Just give it a proper remix and make it sound good. That's
Yeah.
all I can say. I mean, I get where Ken is coming from. I don't mean to crap on your
No.
parade. I'm not trying to do that. I'm
Mm.
just saying that for me, I listened to both sides and I couldn't do it. It was painful because of the sound quality of it, or the lack of it. It didn't sound good to me. So yeah, out of the three albums, this one is way down at the bottom. I'm sorry, way down at the bottom. Any more comments, opinions, or
Um, One last thing to add. Todd Rundgren, for a lot of people, might be one of those artists that really all you need is the greatest hits.
possibly? Yeah,
If that is the case, there is a double CD called Anthology. I would recommend this opposed to a single disc greatest hits because as far if I remember correctly, they're just more tracks, but it's a very very solid representation of his music up through I think Herman and Meek Hollow, I believe, or maybe one or two albums after that before he got really weird. Also, uh,
really weird. Okay,
if I remember correctly, because it's a long time, I need to revisit it. He did a live album called Back to the Bars,
that's right.
a three disc vinyl. They probably squeezed it on two CDs, but it was a three album vinyl that thoroughly enjoyable. It shows what he can do,
Yeah,
live on stage. All of those early hits and stuff like that, plus other tracks. I think he really does enjoy doing covers. He does a real nice cover of "While My Guitar Gently Weeps." That was on an anthology, a themed anthology at some point. But yeah, yeah.
I mean, just quickly, don't get me wrong. I've got um, somewhere anywhere. I've got Todd, Initiation. I've listened to those albums. I enjoy those albums immensely, immensely. I'm
Mhm.
just trying to listen to this album was like, what the hell am I listening to here? Like sonic wise, it was just like
Well, and he does a lot of, I don't know if it's compression or whatever. For instance, one of his greatest albums, The Hermit of Mikalo, it just has that it I don't know how to describe it. It's just there's just an overall kind of ethereal processed feel to it.
to it. Yeah.
Um,
Well, if he
it,
come,
it works in that album for me. That, but yeah, all of his have kind of that produced um, aftertaste. I don't know how
well,
to.
I mean, if it's compression he used on this album, he compressed the shit out of this
Yeah,
album. It was just
yeah,
like, whoa. I'm like,
yeah.
is a remaster? This is a 2015 remaster. Like I couldn't wrap my ears around it, as it were,
No,
just
yeah, no, you're right.
so. Um, any more opinions to go or comments or critiques or
Yep.
no? Okay. All right, ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. Album celebrating the 50th anniversaries for the month of April 1976. I want to thank my two wonderful co-hosts and cohorts, uh, Ken Cheshire and Sagosh, for joining me on this interesting adventure of these albums. You can check these albums out on YouTube. You can get them on Discogs, you can get them on Amazon. And here's a novel idea. Go to your local record store. You can get them at your local record store. Depending where you are, they could probably order them for you. And you know what? Again, we are not music experts by any stretch of the imagination. We are just bringing you albums that we think that you might like and dusting off some oldies but goodies.
Mhm.
Not in the case of the last one for me, but that's another issue altogether. Again, please click like and subscribe and click the notification bell to keep yourselves on top of any new content we've got coming up. We are now on X. And for those of you that are watching that have commented to me on X and liked the videos that I posted, I want to thank you very much for that. I really do and sincerely appreciate it. We have more episodes coming up. Ken and I are going to be coming back with an episode on Live Album Spotlight featuring Yes Songs, a triple vinyl odyssey in some cases. And we're going to be discussing that. We are also coming back with another episode on album discussion on The Fix, Shuttered Room, and also Bill Schuster's coming back on the channel. I am going to, advertise the shit out of this episode. We are going to be doing a series of episodes with Ken called Outlaws and Heroes, where Bill Schuster is going to be taking the reins on that, and he's going to be talking about country rock and why he loves country rock. And we're hoping to do more than one episode on that because Bill hasn't decided what to do yet on the format of the show. So that's going to be coming up, and Ken is going to be joining in on that one. That's going to be fun, isn't it? And we're also going to be doing another episode on Acoustic Corner, talking about Saga with their 2021 release called Symmetry. And that's also coming up with Ken. That's going to be wonderful. So please join us for that. Again, for Ken and Sagosh, I'm Armando signing off for now. And please look after yourselves and one another. And we'll see you soon again on the Music Den. Bye for now.